What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Square Feet of Life. I am your host, Johnson Francois, and today I have the pleasure of hosting my good friend, Alec Diaz. Alec, how's it going today, brother?
It's going amazing. Blessed. And I'm
Nice.
definitely glad I'm here today. And thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure hosting you. And, I look forward to the conversation that we're about to get into. Alec, I wanted to bring you on today because you have become an expert in the tech field and there's a lot going on right now. So, what I wanted to do is start off with your journey. How did you involve yourself in tech?
Yes, definitely. For me, a story always begins with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I'm gonna bring you back in time to like my childhood and my background. So I started off with a single parent mom, in which we had a household full of five kids, and it was struggling. There was a lot of different adversities that we had to go through, in which my mom was always able to provide, and I'm just was so blessed and thankful for my mother first and foremost, and this environment that I was, dealing with at the time, I had to, essentially find an escape, and basketball was my escape. So my friends they played basketball, and I just wanted to get better and learn and develop not only as a player on the court but off the court as well. So that was like my start of my development journey. From there, obviously like I wanted to make it to the NBA, and obviously you guys can't tell, but I'm not that tall. I'm only like 5'11". And at the end of my high school year and my senior year in high school, I was left with zero offers and some interest from some lower D3 schools and JUCOs, and that's not really the direction I was wanting to go. So I actually had my mom had a boyfriend, and he was in project management for Disney. And I loved the lifestyle that he had. He was, traveling, and he had a nice house and he had a nice car, and that really intrigued me to learn more about his career field, in which I was, getting on track to, get within my own career. So he he told me about the computer science program when I started to get into college, and I enrolled, and I was doing the computer science major for some time, and I got very distracted, lost all focus, and pretty much I just ran myself away from that track essentially by not doing the right things, and by partying, drinking, distractions. And that took me into a different alternative route, because one day I tell the story all the time as well. I walked into class, my math class, and my math teacher was like, "Hey, what are you doing here? This is the first time I ever seen you. This is like 2 weeks into school, and this is my first time showing up to class." And she's like, "Yeah, you got to come here with me." So she basically grabs me by my neck and tells me, "Hey, let's go to your counselor's office." So we end up going to the counselor's office, and I'm sitting there. I'm just contemplating, like, what is gonna happen during this discussion. So the counselor says, you already had a couple C's, and your performance, your grade level, your grade point average is below the expectations for the computer science degree. So at the time, like, I seen a calculator that she had was typing up all the different numbers for the financial aid and the cost of school without it and everything, and how I would have to balance a job and be able to afford this program, and it just didn't add up. But on the calculator it said 333, and I don't know like what it was, but it gave me like a sense of comfort. And I believe in God. I believe in the Most High. So I give the glory to Him. But during that time, I didn't know what it was. But for some reason, I knew I was headed in the right path. So after I ended up dropping out of college, unfortunately, and but it was actually a very big, great thing, in which God was leading me to a different path. And I did some real estate for some time. I was juggling some different business ideas in which I was trying to implement now that I wasn't in school anymore. And I went back to my mentor and I told him my situation, and he recommended me a software QA automation engineer boot camp. And it sounded amazing. Like they were telling me 6 months, you go here, you're gonna make 100K as soon as you get out. And I'm like okay, like whatever. But at the same time, I didn't have any other options. So he told me it was $4,000, but he was able to get it down to a better price because he actually knew the founder. So I was able to scramble up the money, and I invested in myself through into this boot camp. And through that process, I committed myself for 6 months. So much so that I went all in on the third month, and I quit my job, and I pulled out a personal loan in my name for the last 3 months remaining, so I could just go all in and focus. The course, they had testimonies and case studies, and the alumni students, they would come back to the camp and they would tell these great stories. So it really motivated me throughout those times in which I stayed disciplined. I pretty much, when I was not in the classes or courses, I was literally studying and preparing for interviews. And 6 months and 1 week later, by the glory of God, I was able to land a QA automation engineer position for a top enterprise company called LexisNexis. Not too sure if I should promote them or not, but with LexisNexis. And it was making me more than I would if I went into the finish with a computer science degree. Um, like if I would have finished with that degree after college, like I was making more than like a lot of the students when they were coming out of college. So that just showed me what hard work, discipline, perseverance could do when you really put your mind to something. And it proved to myself that I was able to do something through the development of my own self. So fast forward, I landed the job and I was building QA automation frameworks and using Java, Selenium, Testing G, Cucumber, um, APIs as well. We use Postman and Rest Assured, doing a lot of automation and testing of the functionalities of different applications under LexisNexis. And it gave me a lot of experience. And I transitioned into a different company in which I currently work now, same role as a QA automation engineer. And I really just wanted to dive deeper into the knowledge, the industry, and I love to speak life into people. So I see myself as a manager or like a leader. So I want to take my leadership capabilities, being a captain of the basketball team, and taking those same characteristics and just pushing my software development team to be the best that they can be and also increase productivity. And that's what we do as an agile scrum leader. And that's the position. But within my company, it's also a project management role. So I was able to transition into management. And now I'm currently facilitating projects that collectively throughout the portfolio equal up to over $20 million. And I'm leading teams that have around 40 software developers total, two teams, 40 software developers. And we recently in June successfully completed significant regulatory commitments that were to the Fed that saved us millions of dollars for the bank. And it was a total of like over 30 projects that we completed. And that was a significant effort, tremendous learning experience, and it taught me a lot about business. So I always had an entrepreneur mindset, and that's something that I really wanted to become. I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss, and I seen tech as a vehicle to get there. So I had a vision in which I was in a basketball court, and I had like some type of like mobile application, and I was showing it to a whole bunch of basketball students. And that vision was brought to me, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, basketball was my passion. That's something I really wanted to do. And now God is bringing me back to the same sport in which I wasn't successful at, and you could consider it a failure, but I don't believe in failures. I only believe in lessons. So last year, around June, I started a basketball training ministry. As you guys could probably tell, like, I'm big on faith, and with this basketball training ministry, it would allow me to find, people like myself at that same age that I started my journey around 13, 14 years old when I picked up a ball. And I started to pour life into them weekly, just hosting different training sessions, learning about them. And there's a concept within business and agile in general called customer centricity. Customer centricity is when you create a product based off of the wants and needs of your customer. So working with this community, I was able to identify the wants and needs of these different players and create a product essentially off of the community. And this product was a basketball training development mobile application with AI capabilities, in which would allow personalized recommendations of different drills, and also will incorporate the community, different items as like a reflection journal and some other capabilities in which we're looking to create for the future state of the product that would incorporate different items as AR, VR, and enhanced capabilities for AI and other items like that. So I started with creating a BRD I started after we started cultivating the community and the capabilities. Just it was just an idea stage and asking the kids like for feedback and like, what do you guys think? Would you guys use this? How much would you guys pay for a product like this? And they allowed me to create something, and I put that all into a BRD.
And what is a
And
BRD?
a BRD is a business requirements document that would outline all the functionalities of the application or software you're trying to build. So I had to think in all different perspectives, and from the player standpoint, for the parent standpoint, from the coach's standpoint, and we created a nice product with a whole bunch of different future features, but we just had to drill down to the most essential, and that was our MVP. So from the BRD, we created a and prototyping, and from the prototype, we started to build out our team. So now we have a team of 9 developers and a business analyst and also a AI practitioner. And we also have internships that come here, like, and they facilitate and help with the project from time and time, like whenever they don't have class, or whenever they could just assist, and it's great for their experience. So from that, we were able to create the prototyping. We built the team out, and then from there we went and started developing. We started developing in March of this year, and now we're about 70-80% away from a beta release, which we're targeting for December. And this beta release would be tested with early adopters from our community, Kingdom Hooper, and which has 75 plus members within the community. That's including parents and young athletes within the basketball local area. And this is what we are targeting currently. We also have like different future state versions that would be able to be cultivated out of that. So I know there was a lot within there, but I just wanted to give you context, the background, and also the different audiences and how it ties into each other. And I just really believe in providing the most value to these young athletes. And this is why we also are targeting a another initiative in which we call the backup plan. So the backup plan is a course in which will allow young athletes that are not able to make it to the NBA, that may not have the financial means to go to college, or just want another direction in life. And this course would allow them to break an entry into the door of the tech industry. And so we providing coaching, mentorships, course materials, interview preparation, and help streamline that process for someone who may need an alternative option and that would love to get into the tech field and essentially do something like me. Like that person was me, and now I'm looking for other characters in which would like to take a similar route because it was tried and true, and I'm a perfect example, and that's my testimony.
Nice. That's beautiful. And thank you. I appreciate you for sharing all of that. I wanted to ask you, what exactly is QA automation?
Yes. So QA automation, QA stands for quality assurance. So we have different phases within the software development lifecycle. You have the initial idea stage. Then the idea stage turns into analysis and requirements gathering. And then you go into the design phase. And then from the design phase, you have the development phase. And then you have the quality assurance phase and then production. So after the software developer, let's say we have a certain functionality that we're trying to create, and the software developer will code it, and then he would do some of his internal unit tests, and then it would be sent over to the QA team, and we run manual tests, and then we automate those manual tests. So that is pretty much our goal, is to make sure that product is working as expected for our stakeholders or users. So our goal is to make sure whatever that stakeholder wants within their, we call it acceptance criteria, within the requirements, we want to make sure that that functionality aligns with the stakeholder's vision, and making sure that that actual software is working and be able to be utilized by the stakeholder.
You mentioned that you are an Agile Scrum Leader. What is an Agile Scrum Leader?
Yeah, so Agile Scrum Leader is a person who leads the software development teams. We're not like per se a manager where we're just like telling you like what to do and you're gonna get in trouble if you don't do this, because we promote pretty much transparency, and we allow the developers be able to provide their own value to the team. So we do have projects in which we target, but the scrum leader is just facilitating those projects as well as the team, and making sure that the team is unblocked from any blockers, impediments, dependencies. We're pretty much a servant leader at the end of the day. We want to provide value to the software development team, the QA team, and make sure that we are able to help that project get across the finish line. But within my company, we also do project management. We're not only a agile scrum leader per se, we also have a project management hat, and that project management is we're trying to guarantee the success of that project. And we have multiple projects that we target on a quarter basis and also on a yearly basis.
What does a project manager in tech, what does that role entail? What does it look like?
Yeah, so a project manager in tech would essentially be able to speak with a stakeholder, and we have our BAs, or business analysts, that go out and collect requirements and figure out what our stakeholders want. Then for that specific project, we create project plans out of it and figure out like what are the different pieces that are needed or are involved. And then we identify like what is the software and technology that we need, by the assistance of our our tech leads and our architects, and then we create a mapping or a plan that we adhere to. And our goal is to facilitate that project to the end result, to get it across the finish line. We guarantee the success of the project, and through that, we're able to provide the most value to our stakeholders, our users, and be able to target other projects. So, like I was talking about before, I work for a Bank of New York, in which I I work within the compliance department. We call it enterprise compliance engineering, and what that entails is within compliance, we have different regulators like the Fed or FinCEN, or these, you guys probably heard HIPAA, or these different players within the ball game, that look towards these different enterprises like BNY or other banks, and they're making sure they're adhering to like different regulations. So those regulations entail data quality. We're making sure that we're scanning and we're doing our due diligence before any type of customer comes within our firm, KYC. So, for example, if you guys heard about the Ukraine war, when that started to pop off, BNY was sent a list of entities in which we're not going to do business with,
And why
and
is that?
those, because they're sanctioned entities, they might have public, you know, this different public entities in which that are malicious or have bad intent, and obviously from Russia, we're not trying to do certain business with them. And if you control the money, you control the world. So essentially, BNY is like a global big big vehicle, big engine in which that facilitates the money flow, and also is able to sanction different entities. So we're protected within our own country. So I work under the sanctions department, and the applications that we work on are specifically for the scanning of those different entities, and we're looking for those bad actors. So once our application scans different transactions and or the onboarding, like let's say you go and you try to open up an account with Wells Fargo, not saying we do business with them, just an example. Let's say you go open up an account with Wells Fargo, then as soon as you put all your information into your application and join, before you join, you're being scanned. You're being scanned for political matters. You're being scanned for your background to make sure like you're not dealing with different anti-money laundering activities, or you were doing certain bad malicious things that we do not want to do business with. So from there, your profile is just like a string, a list of different details, PI, personal information. It's sent over to the operators. Operators review to see if there's any inconsistencies, to see if there's anything wrong, and then most of them are like false positives, meaning like they're good to go. They probably just have like a keyword within the transaction, or they might have like a similar name. Let's say like Osama bin Laden. Like let's say your last name is like bin Laden or something. Then it's gonna be sent over to the operators. They're going to review to see like, okay, he's not Osama bin Laden, we're going to let him go. That's a false positive. But if we see something that is like a discrepancy, we're going to put that aside and probably escalate to a higher level, and report it to the Fed, or whoever we have to report it to. And then so we develop, we configure, and we test that application to make sure that it's running smoothly, and also of course giving it different enhancements, and we're also incorporating AI capabilities.
What softwares? What would you say are some of the most popular software tools that you guys use in order to complete your jobs?
Yeah, so we use a lot of different softwares, and it's very interesting. So we have a project management platform called Jira. We utilize Jira, We also utilize software as we have an internal like chat GPT that we've created, and which allows us to utilize chat GPT at work. But if you utilize chat GPT itself and you're putting data in there, that could expose you to potential threats because that's a third party company. So you may not want to put your data into chat GPT because that's a third party company. Now they have access to your information, and they can use it however they would like. So we do not want to utilize ChatGPT within our business. So we had to create our own protected private ChatGPT within our internally to our company that we allow the employees to use. We also use Copilot, which is like an AI type of assisted coding software that when you're coding, you're able to use like Copilot to, help you assist you within your coding processes. And some of the other items would just be like, mm, I can't think of it right now, but those are some of the softwares in which we utilize at the moment.
You mentioned some of the dangers about inputting personal data into Chat GPT. How should one go about using it? I know that there's a lot of people who use it for many different reasons, but obviously the number one thing that it's meant for is just to get information for the most part. So, what are some of the things that one should not ask Chat GPT just to protect their own privacy?
Definitely, I would try to restrain from just any type of personal information like your name, your phone number, or your email, just any type of personal information, your credit, your EIN number, stuff like that. Just try to stick away from that because that when you input that data into there, they're collecting that data and they could be using it in any type of way. So I would just restrain from injecting your personal information. But other than that, it's really good for finding different ideas and just quick, fast. Let's build this, and it's streamlined and it's optimized. It's been enhanced, and they're continuously getting it better and better. So if you haven't started using this capability, then I definitely recommend it.
How hard is it for you guys to come up with a software that allows you to input ChatGPT into your own personal workspace, into the everyday tools that you guys use?
So we actually have a AI hub, in which is a department. They're their own department that they develop the AI capabilities within our own company. For us, on the side within my own project, which is called Your Court, the basketball training application is called Your Court at this point in time. We're utilizing an API in which allows us to incorporate those AI activities. So we're also building our own model. So you could build your own AI model and also use APIs to help facilitate the different functionalities that you're looking to target. But it's not too hard. It's just you have to if you understand what you're doing, you understand like how AI works and how you need to ingest good quality data into the system, then you should be good to go.
What are APIs?
Yeah, so APIs are pretty much if you think about it, if you're in the kitchen, let's say you're at dinner, you're eating your food, well, you're about to order your food actually. So you're looking at the menu and you order your food with the waiter. The waiter is gonna take your food, take your order and go back to the kitchen and pretty much put your order in. And once that order is put in and is completed, they'll bring it back out to you. And that's now you have your food. So APIs they act in a way like the waiter. You send certain requests to an application, and then the response is what you get back. So you may have like in let's say you may have pretty much like Google Maps. Let's say you're trying to create a Google Maps maps within your app. So you're gonna reach out to Google. You're gonna be like, hey, I need your Google API, and I need your API for the Google Maps, and then you pretty much take that API, put it within your own code, and then now you're pretty much requesting for that functionality and capability within your own application, and the response is the maps. So it gets a little bit complicated, but that's the easiest way for me to explain an API.
You mentioned your love for basketball, and it's led you to introduce basketball into the tech sector in your own way. Can you talk to us more about your court?
Yes, definitely. So your core, as I said before, is based off of the community and is targeting the functionalities around the the wants and needs of the basketball player. So during the process of building out the ideas, there's a lot of different things you have to think about, and I just wanted to streamline that process. So I was just asking the kids directly, like, what do you guys like? What do you guys want? And that's the customer centricity aspect. So when you're able to build out your BRD, which is your business requirement document, this is for any type of application. You could do this, and you have to be very fine and have a very fine, detailed, oriented BRD. So it's very specific because business is communicates in a certain way, but then you have the engineers that they understand, or they have their own way of thinking. They're thinking about the minute details of, okay, this is what you want, this is what you get. So that's something you have to think about, is just really articulating yourself. And as a visionary, sometimes it's hard to communicate exactly what you want, because you might ask for a tire swing, but they might give you back a treehouse. So it's very important that you take your ideas and you flush it out, you vet it, and you ask your customers like exactly, or your users exactly like what they want, what they need, and then you have to take all of that information and communicate it to your developers. So that was significantly, it was tough effort, and I was able to pretty much just sit down, explain to them like what is basketball. Like they never played basketball in their life, so I had to explain basketball. What is basketball? I had to create a lot of data. I had to pretty much facilitate like what would the workflow look like, and I had a vision of what the app would be in the beginning, and it dramatically changed over time. And now once we got into the development phase, it's just other problems like different functionality. Like how do you guys want this to look, or where are we going to collect the data to be able to implement this? So there's always going to be different obstacles that you have along the way. But as entrepreneurs and people that are getting into startups, one of the main significant key success indicators is being a really good problem solver and overcoming all of those different problems along the way.
How long does it take to get from the idea phase to the development phase, and how much longer do you see yourself going through the process of creating this app until it's completed?
Yeah. So honestly, it's never completed. It's never completed. There's always going to be different versions. There's always going to be different enhancements. There's always going to be a way that it could develop and get better. But the main thing is developing your minimum viable product, your MVP. So you're able to get it out there as fast as possible, get your first user and your first dollar, and get feedback. That's your goal. So getting that feedback is going to allow you to create different iterations in which you're going to be optimizing and tweaking your product and tweaking your product and tweaking your product until it gets to the point where it's like really fleshed out and it's really nice, providing the most value to your user and your customer. So that's our goal for version one. So we have our beta release and coming up in December, in which we're gonna be testing our just basic UI, AI models, going to be probably like very basic, but it's going to allow us to test the idea and holistically. And then version one, after we get through beta, version one is going to have all of the essential functionalities in which we're trying to provide value for. So we were thinking about having a podcast on it and like some other ideas, but that's not essential. So we're not gonna develop that into the app because we could use platforms like yours or like other platforms to be able to facilitate that. But that wouldn't be like a part of our minimum viable product. For some companies, it might be, but in our case, it's not. But that's just a nice to have. So you have your essentials, and then you have your priority level, and then sometimes the nice to haves are not going to make it to your version 1.0. But version 1.0 is pretty much having a solid product that is tested throughout your with your MVP, and then you will just version 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever until you feel necessary, like until you just want to just exit the product. Essentially, you just want to exit the company. And I see the vision of the actual app, and I can't talk too much about it because intellectual property, but essentially providing the most value for version 1.0 is targeted to just become the best basketball training app within the game. And that's our goal, is to just provide the most value, MVP, and version 1.0 that's going to provide the most value to our customer. From there, we're going to continuously develop and produce iterations that would be able to optimize that user experience. And then future state would be to combine augmented reality. And this is something that's coming up. It's very big. If you guys ever had like the big goggles with Meta, you got the Apple and Snapchat glasses that have came out recently, and it's creating a virtual environment where you're able to create like different place different characters within the real world. So imagine you're just in your room, and then you have your coach. You can set up your coach right behind, right here, or like Michael Jordan or whoever you want, and then you could implement like your AI capabilities, like an AI model within the actual coach, and pretty much be able to get instant feedback and get advice, get different, you know, tips and tricks to be able to get better. So that's future state. Right now, the cost of hardware and everything like that would not be able to. That's not possible. But that's something we're looking forward to, and we have some big partnerships that we're looking forward to as well.
AI has made a huge name for itself in recent years. Where do you see the world and AI in the future?
Yeah, so AI is definitely the hot new topic. Is a lot of people are very interested in it, and there's some people that's been doing it for a while, and also a lot of new people coming into the awareness bracket. So AI, the future state of AI is just going to streamline a lot of these different manual tasks that we're having to do on an everyday basis. So if I was an employee within a company and I'm doing something manually like over and over and over again, that process might be looked from a leadership perspective as something that they want to build an AI capability. Maybe perhaps they could save money. So unfortunately, this could lead to jobs being lost. And there's different companies that have already implemented these AI capabilities within their firm, and a lot of people are losing their jobs. So within this next year or so, I've heard from a lot of the different people within the industry that about 10% cuts are looking to happen from multiple organizations across the board, and it's due to the AI capabilities. But there's also upside though, because imagine you're on a big tractor and you have this big field that you're cutting. So if you would go out there with a pair of scissors, like you're gonna be cutting that field all day. But if you have this tractor and you're able to drive it around and take down everything, the trees and the grass, and make it look nice, then obviously that would be the best route to go. So just learning how to drive that tractor, or AI in this case, learning how to get involved, like what positions are out there in which I could get my entry, my foot within the door to be able to have an opportunity to work with that, with this capabilities. And there's a lot of opportunities out there, and I look forward to connecting with different individuals that are looking to get into AI. But I recommend, if you are trying to get into AI, just start learning about data. Data is a big thing. Quality data, it will also make or break your AI. So becoming a fast track method would be, become a data analyst, and then from the data analyst position, then work your way into machine learning, and machine learning is the gateway into AI. So data analyst, and then start learning about machine learning. Then now you have a good set of skills to be able to start creating AI models and or start optimizing.
Which sectors do you see getting impacted the most? Because you mentioned that 10% of people may lose their jobs, and you also mentioned the opportunities that could come about becoming certified in data analysis. But which jobs do you see people losing? Earlier, I actually saw a report saying that I think there is a police station in the UK. I could be completely wrong, but what they're doing is they're using AI to solve crimes, and a lot of the detective work that used to take long amounts of time, they've implemented a new AI system that they're trying out that could solve a crime within 30 hours. So, and that was
Mm.
surprising to me because I just like the analogy you used with the tractor work, there's some fields that I don't see getting impacted, and police work is one that I honestly didn't see coming. But in the short term, which sectors, once again, do you see getting impacted by AI?
Yeah, so unfortunately, like, I don't want to um I don't want to, like, scare everybody or think like, oh yeah, everybody's gonna lose their job or anything like that. It's not going to be the case for a lot of the industries, but of course with change there's going to be like a lot of different, oh, this is happening, like what is the future looking like. As long as you're open-minded, you're a student, and you're willing to learn, you'll be okay. But yes, there are industries that are being impacted. For example, let's say within the process of, let's say you have a manual task that you're doing over and over and over again. Perhaps that could be more optimized or more efficient by this AI model or this robot or whatever it may be. Within, like, say, McDonald's, they have McDonald's, they streamline their process in which you're able to go up to the kiosk and put in an order, and robots start go back and make your food, and then pretty much you just popped it out and then it's good. So like stuff like that where you're just doing stuff over and over, I would start to look for something a little bit different that requires problem solving, or human intervention, or actually like working to contribute to help that capability to get better, or find areas or gaps or problems in which you could come into the industry and solve.
You mentioned problem solving and human intervention. Not too long ago, one of the biggest concerns with AI is that the engineers felt like AI could actually develop emotions in the future, and that could be a concern for some people, especially when not trying to sound all sci-fi-ish, but
Yeah.
there are different countries that have already started using different robots for different things. Sometimes, especially in Miami, you could be somewhere like Brickell, where traffic becomes very heavy, and you start seeing restaurants actually using robots to transport food from their restaurant to wherever their customer may be at the time. But like I said, some of the engineers feel like it could be a problem if AI starts developing emotion and all of these things. How do you feel about that?
I'm thinking about Terminator right now, honestly. Um, but yeah, so it depends on the person who's actually creating the model, and it's big on data. So if you think about it, it's scanning for through thousands of lines of data and rows of data, and it's making different conclusions based off of that data. So of course, the person that develops the AI model, they could configure it into certain ways, like different ways in which they would like it to produce a certain result. So if I'm telling this AI model to go and figure out from this row all these stats, these lists of stats, all of these rows of data in which it's going to show like the points per game, a field goal percentage, years in the league. It's going to look at all these rows of data and then come to a conclusion. But that AI model might have certain bias because I'm providing the defaults, or the developers providing the defaults in which we would like to make these different conclusions or results based off of that data that they took a look at. So the person that's creating the model, the AI model, they're the ones that could potentially have different biases, and of course, with as Spider-Man said, if great power comes with great responsibility.
Do you think that not you and I, but do you think that could be us, the everyday people that are using AI to receive information? Because if we could be frank, there's a lot of people who say use a platform like ChatGPT, right? And they're not only using it to get information, but they may be even asking for advice, right? Like in whatever capacity that may be. Do you think that humans could actually be playing a role into feeding the emotion? Because if it's collecting data, then at some point, wouldn't you think that the AI, it could be sensing that because of the information I received, this is how I should go about it because of what people are asking me, and then it just becomes almost programmed within the system.
Yeah, like I said before, the data quality is very important. Like what you're ingesting into that model. So for us, it's basketball training. I have to basically take my mind when it comes to coaching and basketball and training and put it into this AI model, and then set defaults in which I believe would be at least like like the line, the baseline for like what is a good workout. Like so for recommending workouts, we want a personalized feel. We It depends on the data collection. So let's say, for example, within our own mobile application, where you come into the app, you're able to see your stat dashboard, and then you scroll down and you're able to see recommended workouts. That recommendations is based off of defaults that we set as the developer, and also the data that we provided for what is a good workout or what is a bad workout, or why should we recommend this workout over this other workout for this player. And it depends also on the data collection, like a lot of the data collection. So if this person, let's say, is putting in incorrect data, like they're saying like, oh, they coming into the app and they're saying, oh, I made 10 out of 10 shots. I made everything. I was 100%. They wasn't being really accountable. They were just, trying to just boost up their stats within the app. Then you're not bettering yourself. You're not getting it better. So I don't think that's the best way to go. But let's say that person was doing that, then it's gonna start recommending different workouts and start making recommendations or producing certain data that is not aligning with what you're trying to do with your life, and that is to get, in our case, get better in basketball.
Right. And I think that's a great example, right? Because what if someone's, says, what's a more effective way to hit free throws, but someone else is putting, why do I have to shoot 1,000 free throws a day to actually get better at it? And then one day, all of a sudden, the AI says, yo, shooting 1,000 free throws a day sucks. All you need is 500. Then, it becomes incorrect at that point, So,
Yes.
yeah, I see what you're saying there. Alec, I wanted to thank you so much for sharing this knowledge and this wisdom with us. Where can people find you at? I know that you've had a lot going on lately, especially a lot of different speaking engagements. Let's start off there. What's your next speaking engagement? Where can people actually go to see you?